Okay, we are live with At Home with Nature. We are going to be starting in just one moment, as we are going to have some great fun, a great educational video we have prepared for you today. My name is Will Sorley. I am an educator with the Toronto and Region Conservation Authority. And today we have a great topic about monarch butterflies and growing your own milkweed. Now today it won't be just me talking. I have a video prepared that Nancy McGee has graciously accepted, and we were going to be playing that for you. And she talks all about how to grow your own milkweed. Now we may be thinking, okay, why is he talking about milkweed? Well, first I'm going to explain a bit about our monarch butterfly. We're going to go into our video then about how to grow your own milkweed. Finally, we'll have a bit of time for questions, and then about some upcoming events that we are offering at the TRCA. So let's get right into it. The monarch butterfly. What is that? Well, it's a beautiful migratory insect that lives around my area here in the Greater Toronto area. And if you live in the same place, well, it might live around you too. You just have to look for it. It's a beautiful orange and black butterfly. Now, our monarch butterfly is a species at risk, and there are ways that we can help this animal who is at risk of, well, maybe disappearing forever. And one way by is providing it food, as our monarch butterfly only eats one type of food. And if you have an intuitive brain, it is our milkweed. Our common milkweed, our swamp milkweed, maybe even our butterfly milkweed. Now, imagine if you eat Cheerios for your morning breakfast. You are only allowed to eat Cheerios for the rest of your life. That's like our monarch butterfly. It only eats one type of food, milkweed. So that's why it's really important to know and even plant milkweed in our gardens, balcony gardens, wherever it may be. So I'm going to pass the torch over to Nancy, and she's going to talk to us about, well, how can you plant and grow your own milkweed? Take it away, Nancy.
Hi, I'm Nancy McGee, and I'm the Senior Manager of Education and Training at the Toronto and Region Conservation Authority. Will's asked me to speak to you today about propagating milkweed or growing milkweed at home, but you might be asking yourself, why would I put anything called a weed in my garden? Well, a good reason might be because it is the exclusive food species of the monarch butterfly, and monarch butterflies are species at risk. Now, they're the lowest level on the scale of species at risk. It's considered a species of concern. But when we've got something that's a species of concern, this is probably the best time to try to take action to help it. And creating new habitat, that's one great way of helping the monarch butterfly. Now that we've spoken a little bit about why you'd grow milkweed, let's talk more about the milkweed plant itself. This is the milkweed that I prefer to grow. It's called swamp milkweed, or Asclepias incarnata, and it has a characteristic of not spreading as quickly as maybe what you've seen along the roadsides or in fields. That's common milkweed. However, they all have very similar characteristics when you look at them. These ones, for example, you will see there's always opposite leaves. So if it grows on the top, it grows on the bottom, right away from that stem, or from left to right, you'll see the same thing. The other feature you'll notice with milkweed is the milky sap if you break the stem, or if you take a pod from it, or if you crack a leaf open. Now, this milky sap is what actually creates that toxic property that's associated with monarch butterflies. Predators don't want to eat a second monarch if you've eaten a first one, because they taste very bitter and it's just not going to have nutritional value for them. So it's a natural defense. And the natural defense of both the caterpillars of the monarch species as well as the adult, of course, comes from this plant. Now, this is also, again, the exclusive plant that the caterpillars can live from. If you put them on other plants, they might look nice, they might force them to eat it, but they can't survive on it. So being such a specialized eater, that's another good reason for having these in your garden. So you might be asking yourself, well, if the sap from the milkweed plant can make the caterpillar and the adult monarch toxic to other species, is it something that I should be worried about? It's a great question, and we should ask ourselves that about a variety of different plants. There are lots of plants that don't make a lot of sense for humans to be interacting with too much. Poison ivy, for example. Poinsettias also have a latex to them. Now, specifically when you think about the milkweed plant, there is a compound in it, or chemical in it, called a cardiac glycoside. Now, cardiac refers to the heart. So if you're known to have a heart condition, this is probably not the plant that you should be handling. As well, the sap is considered a latex. So if you have a latex allergy, that's something that I would be concerned with as well. Could you wear gloves? Sure, quite possibly that will work. But everybody has to determine their own risk for that. I think good hygiene, so washing your hands, making sure that you've cleaned up your work area, is going to be a way that you can prevent any contamination from latex for yourself or for others, and makes it a very safe plant to work with. So finally, we're at the tips and tricks. What you want to do whenever you're working with seed is try and mimic nature as much as possible. In the case of milkweed, you have to remember that the seeds are actually going to be dispersed in the fall, typically in a wild environment. Those seeds are going to sit under snow, or at least have had a very cold treatment period, and that actually helps the seed so that it's able to spring forth in the spring. What I've done is collect some swamp milkweed, and I always keep it in a paper envelope. It allows it to dry well. This has come right from my garden. I've got a pinch of it. It's probably 30, 40 seeds that I just put in there. And I'm going to take some vermiculite. This is a product that creates a sterile environment, but what it also does is add the appropriate level of moisture for those seeds also to work through their treatment period. So I put that in to the small plastic bag. It's easy to work with in the small bag, and I've mixed it up just to kind of disperse the seeds amongst the vermiculite. I'm now just going to add water, and how much water? You add enough until the vermiculite no longer absorbs it. It will kind of feel the consistency of oatmeal at that point. And I can see that I've actually added too much. It's kind of pouring around too easily. So what I'm going to do is simply turn the bag, and I'm pouring off the excess water. You'll see that for the most part, the vermiculite in the seed is staying there, and that's what I want it to do. So now that most of the water is out, just want to disperse it around, and I close the Ziploc bag. I'll label this bag, and then it'll go into my refrigerator, typically for 3 to 5 days. After that, the cold treatment phase of this is done, and it's going to be ready for its next stage, which is going to be basically starting to warm it up, get it into the sunlight so that we'll start seeing those roots develop and the sprouts come up. Now, from the freezer or the refrigerator, depending on where you put your seed and vermiculite mixture for its kind of cold treatment period, I then take it and kind of warm it up. So it's going to be warmed up by just placing it on my windowsill. It usually takes between 10 to 15 days for that seed to actually germinate. It'll start sprouting. You'll see the roots coming down. You're going to see those first leaves coming up. And I'll wait until the plant's actually pretty much to the top of the bag, and there will be many of them intertwined in there, before I move them on into what I call my terrariums here. These are old aquariums that I keep that I can put the plant in, and again, it just kind of protects them. It makes almost a little greenhouse for them because I haven't planted it full right up to the top. I like to go about halfway down in the aquarium because then there's that greenhouse effect, and yet I'm still getting lots of good airflow around the plants. Now, my aquariums or terrariums here will typically be full of the plants, and I will let them again grow up until they get just about to the top where you see these now, and I start transplanting them into pots like this. I like my plants to be 2 to 3 at least in the pot, because inevitably there will be 1 or 2 that are not going to make it, and it also seems to be supportive for them to have a couple in. It's also nicer, I think, as a gift if you're going to give these away to other folks that can put them in their gardens. So consider that. If I happen to have larger pots around because I may have been buying something at a nursery recently, I'll just make a few more, put a few more into that pot. And again, I think they just do a little bit better that way. From here, they're good to go in the garden. They're good to give to your friends or family so that they're starting as well. And remember, these ones are not going to bloom the first year. They will get probably about, I don't know, a meter high. They will actually attract the monarchs. The monarchs can eat them all the way down to their stem. You can clip it off or just leave it. And the beauty of milkweed is it's going to come back within that season. So you can actually have monarchs later in the season that are going to benefit from this as well. So that's basically all I have to tell you about my way of propagating milkweed, and best of luck to you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Nancy. That was super informative and can tell us all about, well, how to grow our own milkweed in our own home or wherever we may reside. And it's awesome, too, because we can do our part in helping monarchs in their own habitat, right? We are providing that food that they need. It's so essential for them to live off of that one source of food. And we can provide that within that area. Well, we're going to have more monarchs everywhere. And that's great. So if anyone has any questions, by all means, you can take this time and type them in the chat, and hopefully we can address them right now. I will be talking more about monarchs in 2 weeks from now on June 17th, where I'll be diving more into the monarch butterfly itself. And I do have a bit of a special surprise for you, wherever you may be right now, around our monarch butterfly. Now, I found this in my little area here, and it's pretty awesome, I must have to say. So if you give me a moment, I will unravel my common milkweed here. And people have been saying that they've seen, actually, monarchs in their area, as we've actually just started to spot them recently migrating north. And if you can see right, it's probably a bit hard to see that little dot on that milkweed there. That is an egg of a monarch butterfly. You can see that. I'm trying to get it there. There we go. Perfect on the lower side. That is an egg from an adult monarch butterfly. So hopefully that will grow into a beautiful monarch. Now, if you do have a chance to plant and grow your own milkweed and you find an egg or a caterpillar, or if you're lucky enough and see a chrysalis, by all means just leave it there, right? Let it do its thing. Hopefully it can survive and grow to a beautiful monarch butterfly. Yeah, so that's awesome. Are there any questions at this time that people may have about monarch butterflies or growing milkweed in their homes? I'll give it a couple moments. Pretty interesting, I have to say. I have both common milkweed and swamp milkweed at my property here, and I do have a common milkweed in a specific place because it does grow really abundant and kind of takes over too. Whereas Nancy mentioned, swamp milkweed, you don't have to worry too much about that. So I kind of have it dispersed out in different areas throughout the garden. Nice. Doesn't seem like there are too many questions coming in today, and that's okay. We're going to keep going forward with things right now. So some upcoming events, as I mentioned before, 2 weeks from now, June 17th, I will be talking more in depth about monarch butterflies in a Facebook Live format just like this. And we have some upcoming events too. So tomorrow, well, not tomorrow, June 6th, we are teaming up with the Toronto Region Conservation Authority, teaming up with the Oak Ridges Moraine Land Trust for the Great Backyard Bio-Olympics, or a Bio-Blitz, if you may be familiar with those. And by all means, sign up for this. It's on our Facebook event page. You and your family, one per household. See if you can compete and just have a bit of fun of IDing some of the life that may be in your backyard or your little space you are in. Along with that, coming up in August that we have our Flight of the Monarch Day, which is August 22nd. And this is joined with a lot of other great projects that we have coming up. August 22nd, you can check this out at monarchnation.ca and sign up with your family, and there's a whole bunch of activities that everybody can participate in. I have even been told that there might be some butterfly wings that you can make with some resources that we will be handing out. And we'll be coming together maybe in an online format August 22nd to celebrate our beautiful insect, the monarch. So these are just a couple of things that are upcoming in our area here. But by all means, even if you're not the closest to us here, you can still sign up and hopefully you can get things to work out. I'm going to check our questions at all. It looks like there's no questions. So I wanted to say thank you very much, everybody. Hope you learned a bit more about how you can grow milkweed in your own space. And, well, our monarch butterfly as well. Till next time, everybody, have a good day.